Ladies and gentlemen, I have always opined on this platform that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. Nothing in politics just happens for the sake of it. Yesterday, 4 members of parliament from Rift Valley officially declared their support for Musalia Mudavadi's presidential bid in 2032. And in my view, that endorsement by the 4 members of parliament from Rift Valley is significant politically speaking. And the endorsement was actually intended to achieve a specific political objective. The 4 members of parliament are the member of parliament for Kasese constituency, which was in Gishu. Then there was Julius Sunkuli Kilgoris, member of parliament elected on Kanu ticket. Then there was Samuel Moroto Kapenguria, elected on Jubilee. And then there is Elgeyo Marakwet, women representative, who is independent. The Kasese member of parliament is actually the one elected on UDA. And all these 4 members of parliament are actually in Kenya Kwanza as we speak. And because in politics nothing happens just for the sake of it, I want us to look at the message, because these 4 members of parliament addressed a gathering somewhere in Rift Valley. And it's not the first time Musalia Mudavadi is getting this kind of endorsement. Let me take you back a bit. I think earlier this year, Farouk Kibet, who is a close associate of William Ruto, presided over some event, I think in Malava constituency in Kakamega County. And during that event, Farouk Kibet was the chief guest. Rigathi Gachagua was invited to that event. Musalia Mudavadi was also invited. But the truth of the matter is that on that particular day, majority of members of parliament who spoke in the presence of Rigathi Gachagua actually endorsed Musalia Mudavadi. That was a signal for Rigathi Gachagua. Then I think early this month or earlier last month, or is it before last month, there was another major political event in Rift Valley, which I think I analyzed here. The homecoming of Felix Koskei, who is the head of the public service and head of, and also the William Ruto's chief of staff, somewhere in Rift Valley, I think in Eldoret. Musalia Mudavadi represented William Ruto at that particular event. And I did a critical analysis about that particular move. So in my view, if you ask me, William Ruto is sending signal to Rift Valley, especially through these members of parliament. So I want us to look at why that endorsement is actually a nightmare for Rigathi Gachagua. Before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. And without any further ado, let us dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were to give Ruto a choice between Rigathi Gachagua and Musalia Mudavadi, who do you think William Ruto would pick as his preferred presidential candidate? Okay, let me just put it, because I used to put this question before to you guys. Assuming Uhuru Kenyatta was still the president of the Republic of Kenya, and he had 2 choices to make, Mudavadi and Raila, who do you think Uhuru would have picked as a presidential candidate? In that matter, Mudavadi. Why? Mudavadi is a gentleman, safe pair of hands. And for Uhuru Kenyatta, he would go for Mudavadi, but he couldn't go because his hands were tied. Raila Odinga was the only person with the numbers from Azimio side. Then if you look at this other side and then you ask yourself the question, between Rigathi and Mudavadi, if Ruto were to be given free hand to pick, who who do you think he will pick? Let me read your answer in the comment section before we proceed. I want to know who you think Ruto would pick. For me, I'm also convinced Ruto would pick Musalia Mudavadi. As a matter of fact, during the last election, Ruto really wanted to pick Professor Kithure Kindiki over Rigathi Gachagua. But you see, politics is dynamic. There are several other factors which you must consider. Just like Uhuru had no option of picking of picking Mudavadi, that's the same way Ruto had no option of picking Rigathi Gachagua. Because if he had picked Kithure Kindiki, probably things would have changed. The equation would have been different. But let us focus on these members of parliament, because they're not only for now, the number keeps on growing. Why is it worrying Rigathi Gachagua? Number one, there is the possibility that Rift Valley is actually drifting towards Musalia Mudavadi's bid in 2032. And why are they drifting? That is the question, and that is the biggest worry facing Rigathi Gachagua. Because Rigathi Gachagua's calculation is simple. He wants a situation where Ruto is going to run for 2 terms. He's going to support him fully. At the end of William Ruto's term, he expects Ruto to also reward him by making him a presidential candidate. And that's why Rigathi Gachagua is trying to stamp his authority in central Kenya. Will he be able to do that? Will he be able to become the president of the Republic of Kenya without the support of Rift Valley? Which brings us to the second reason why he's worried. Game of numbers. You see, politics is a game of numbers. Mutai Nguni explained to us as a country a narrative which nowadays I believe fully. The tyranny of numbers. That if you have the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins, then you have advantage. Then you only need to get some other votes here and there. Now, if Musalia Mudavadi were to get endorsements from Rift Valley, and say Rigathi Gachagua also were to get endorsements from some members of parliament from Rift Valley, and both of them are on the ballot, what do you think is going to happen? Rift Valley is going to split almost halfway. So the moment you split Rift Valley and you deny Rigathi Gachagua those votes in 2032, I can assure you he will be headed nowhere. So the game of numbers is what is really worrying Rigathi Gachagua about these latest moves. Because for Mount Kenya, it's still very shaky. William Ruto is still holding the mountain with the balls. They are not moving. You know, if you're a member of parliament and Ruto is holding your ball, you try to move it. Yeah. So, game of numbers worrying Rigathi Gachagua. Number 3 is what I normally referred to in this channel as perceptional politics. You see, the perception outside there is that Ruto Rigathi ticket. Then Ruto will endorse Rigathi and have someone else. But now that can only happen if Rigathi Gachagua is seen, because politics is a perceptional game. Rigathi Gachagua is seen to be doing something, to be working hard, to enjoy the support. Now, if 4 members of parliament can hold a rally and tell you they are supporters that for us, not this guy. And you know why that is important? If you look at game of numbers and geographically, the Kalenjins and the Luyas, they neighbor each other. And that can explain why in some constituencies in Vihiga here, you find a lawyer MCA elected on ANC ticket on the other side, or some part of the other side fully in Azimio, but not this other side. So generally, politics is a perceptional game, and the moment Kenyans will start perceiving Rigathi Gachagua as losing the support of the Rift Valley, probably that will be the end of it. And lastly, not really lastly, but my 4th point is that if you talk to anybody who is close to Ruto and the gossips within the political circles, especially the corridors of power, there is I believe that William Ruto wanted to really disrupt the political equation of the country. And he wanted to, first of all, deal with the tyranny of numbers, which he has now, I mean, not really the tyranny of numbers, but the dynasty narrative, which he has now dealt with. Uhuru is out of power. The Kenyattas are out of power. Odingas are out of powers. Mois are out of powers. The only individual remaining on his side is Mudavadi. But he also needed Mudavadi for him to be able to win. So the truth is, Ruto is said within the political circles to be keen on also breaking, apart from the dynasty, he also wants to break the tribal dominance. And therefore, in 2032, William Ruto would want a situation where the next president of the Republic of Kenya is not coming from the mountain and it's not coming from Rift Valley. And that's why the issue of Musalia Mudavadi is really worrying regarding Gachagua. And lastly, it's also exposing Rigathi Gachagua's charm offensive ability. The fact that members of parliament from Rift Valley, 7 of them, who knows that Rigathi Gachagua is Ruto, Ruto is Rigathi Gachagua, can actually go outside there and tell their people that for them, Rigathi is not their candidate. So I tend to think that it's exposing Gachagua's failure to really manage the politics of Rift Valley and Central Kenya, because the assumption is that Rift Valley should actually vote for Rigathi Gachagua. I don't know what to think. That's my take, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.